All right, all right. What is up, everybody? Today's video, we got a good amount of stuff to talk about in the world of boxing or fighting. You got some names coming through with Tyron Woodley taking the fight against Jake Paul, which blew my mind when I heard that fight announced. I mean, I am happy for T Wood to get himself like a really serious opportunity to cash in big for his career. Obviously, never had that crazy elusive paycheck in his MMA career in the UFC. Now he's fighting Jake Paul. We're going to go through the predictions for the for the Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather full card. We're talking about every fight. I did research on everybody on this card, even some of these undercard fights, so we'll get into that. First, though, I do have to talk about this huge news announcement. Jake Paul's fighting Tyron Woodley. It blows my mind that this is a fight that was made, and I feel like it wasn't all that difficult to make. Woodley's going to be getting some serious dough for this fight to fight Jake Paul. When this fight actually goes down, it blows my mind seeing it, but I am happy for Woodley's wallet. This is not an easy fight. At the end of the day, Tyron Woodley built his game off being an explosive puncher who also could wrestle. Sure, he was a striker in MMA, you could say, but that wrestling background allows you to be a lot more threatening to guys who have maybe some advantageous attributes standing up. I feel like that's why I do fear ever so slightly that Jake Paul could win this fight against Tyron Woodley. If I had to go out there right now and throw money down on it, I got to slightly lean Jake Paul 6th round knockout, maybe 5th round. I haven't been super impressed with Woodley lately. Granted, he's been doing MMA, of course. You know, it's different than boxing. As a guy who likes T Wood, sure, it'd be great to see him land a massive punch, get the knockout win over Jake Paul. I don't know how likely it is. Paul's doing a lot of boxing. Woodley sloppy with the boxing, 39, almost 40 years of age. For me, I got to slightly lean in favor of our boy Jake Paul. I'm going to pick Jake Paul right now. Early prediction for that fight, I think Jake Paul finds a way to win. I think that he finds a way to win. Some good control with range from the outside, jab to the head, shots to the body from inside, and I think the chin will open up a T Wood starting in that 4th and then 5th and 6th. I think 6th round knockouts definitely possible here for this fight. I think we're in store for an interesting matchup overall, though. I am excited to see what happens when those two get into it. Should be an intriguing fight, but that is not the main reason why we are here. That's just the first little subject. We're talking about Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. This is the full card predictions and the betting preview for the entire thing. Shout out to everybody watching in the live chat. I know, man, unfortunately we got to slide that way. We love T Wood. I'm an OG T Wood fan, but at the end of the day, I have to be realistic here. He's not a boxer, and he's fighting a guy who trains specifically in boxing. I think that we're going to see a victory in favor of Jake Paul, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you guys have not already. Covering all the boxing fights on this card. Should be an entertaining fight this Sunday. Really looking forward to it. Let's get into it. The first fight of the night. Jaleel Hackett, hot prospect. Very slick prospect, too. He takes on Angelo Diaz. They got no picture for this guy, Angelo Diaz. That tells you a lot about him. Hasn't fought that much high-level competition. On the side of Jaleel Hackett, amateur boxing standout. 140 wins, 19 losses. He stands in the orthodox stance. Extremely good work to the body. He rips the body nastily. He's been sparring supposedly with Tank Davis since he was 16 years old. He's a really slick boxer. On the side of Diaz, there's nothing about this guy. All I know is it's a Mayweather signed guy that has proven skills versus a no-name. Jaleel Hackett should knock him out in a round or two here. It's going to be a dominant performance. There's no odds released for this fight. For some of these early fights, there's not going to be any odds. So we will breeze through them as quickly as we can. But I am excited to hear about this Jaleel Hackett fight. I don't even know if we'll be able to see it televised, but I do think he goes out there and puts on a dominant performance against the unknown Angelo Diaz. But the Floyd Mayweather team knows how to match up the fights. Dorian Khan, Jonathan Gray, another Mayweather prospect guy versus a no-name fighter. Granted, some more footage on Gray. Not a lot of boxing skill, like at all. This guy is not good. His stance is awkward. He switches the stances too much. His footwork is slow, and I don't think he has any real skill as far as boxing goes. He just happens to fight professionally. On the other side, with Dorian Khan, you have a really slick southpaw. As I said, Mayweather prodigies throughout this card. This is another one. Just 18. A knockout in 2 rounds or less here is a very realistic outcome. I'd be shocked to see it be any bit more competitive. 0-3, Jonathan Gray takes on the debuting Dorian Khan. We're going the way of Khan by domination. From what I've seen, Jonathan Gray is going to get demolished when this fight begins. Not even close. Also, height advantage in favor of Dorian Khan. As I said, no odds. We'll double check here. But yeah, no odds for these lesser fights. And that Badu Jack fight is off the card, which sucks. I'm really disappointed to see that fight off. Jared Hurd versus Luis Arias. That fight's still on the card. That's the co-main event. We'll be getting to that very soon. And obviously the Mayweather-Paul fight. Let's keep flying through these undercard matchups. Adrian Benton versus Pedro Angel Cruz. The records are actually incorrect on Tapology. Benton's 4-0. Pedro Angel Cruz is 1-0. I do know something about Pedro Cruz. I think he trains alongside or at least spars with Robert Guerrero, and his father, I think, does work with him a bit. Is a southpaw that likes to mix it up in the close range. As I said, 1-0, 1 win by knockout. On the other side, you got the Floyd Mayweather kid, Benton, Mayweather protege, 4-0, 3 of his wins by knockout. A lot of amateur experience for him, and he's also a southpaw. Southpaw versus southpaw fight. Really not enough footage to give you like an extremely strong call on this one. But I'm going to tell you, I don't believe the Mayweather team is going to put their guys in less than favorable matchups. Adrian Benton should win, but I do think this fight could maybe go the distance here, because I don't think Pedro Angel Cruz is by any means a complete slouch. He's not 36-0-3. He's 1-0. He's 23 years of age. He might still have a bright future, but it's going to be a hard matchup versus Adrian Benton. And to answer your question in the live chat, there are no odds for that Hackett fight, at least not right now. I don't know if there will be later on in the week. Yo, my man, when is the fight? The fight between Mayweather and Logan Paul is going to be this Sunday. It's a special edition Sunday fight. The Woodley versus Jake Paul fight. Let me double check when that fight is, because honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember here. Did they even announce a date? Former UFC champ to box. It seems where is it at? I don't see a date right now. Yeah, I don't see a date yet. I'm assuming the fight is going to be sometime this summer. I would definitely assume. You got my hat, bro. You can never get this hat, baby. This hat is locked on the head. It's glued on the head. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you have not yet. Still got some more fights to get into, some more exciting ones coming up. We're breezing through these earlier prelims, but I did feel like, we got to talk about them because they still have Mayweather staple guys. And if there's footage and I can find it, I'm going to. And I'm going to give you guys my best breakdown possible. This fight here, Vidal Riley, KSI's trainer versus Quintel Thompson. Well, Quintel Thompson, 5-12 as a pro. Not a ton as far as footage on this guy. 5-12 with 9 knockout losses. Has lost a good amount in a row. On the other side, you have KSI's trainer, as I mentioned, quality skill set cruiserweight. Has that pretty technical stance. The hands fairly close to the face. Puts that decent pressure on the opponents, and comes in range with straight punches a lot. There's a lot to like here about Vidal. He went the distance in his last fight, beating, I think, a 4-1 guy. Name is escaping me at the moment, but it was a good performance. It was a difficult fight, and he was challenged there more so than his previous bouts. Granted, it was against a better fighter. He's going to dominate. This is a step down in competition from the last one. You're going to see Vidal knock out Thompson in first or second round. I think that's a very realistic prediction. First or second round knockout here. Also, Thompson is 36 years of age with a really bad losing record. Come on now. This is definitely the fight of Vidal Riley. And it's not even anywhere near competitive. It's not going to be competitive at all. This is a bad fighter versus a prospect. Next fight, Giancarlo Torres versus Zach Kuhn. If you look at Zach Kuhn's early career, it didn't look like he was going to be a bum. It didn't look like he was going to be just some journeyman bum opponent. It was 9-2-1. Granted, maybe if you dug deeper, you'd see, because he did not fight anybody with any notable skill set or record. Most of the guys had plenty of losses and minimal amounts of wins. On the side of Torres, undefeated guy, 18-0. Hands close to the face, that tight, high guard style. From what I've seen, he is a bit square and like slouches over a bit. Maybe you can catch him with that uppercut. He has been knocked down before. I will say the pressure-heavy style is definitely going to match up well against the not-so-good counter-punching style of Kuhn. Let's just be 100% honest. He has an okay skill set. He's not great. His lead hand's a bit too low and very chicken-winged almost. And as I mentioned, 9-2-1. And now his recent fights, the guy can't find a win. He's 1-5 in his last 6. He's not looking to win anymore. He's collecting paychecks. And that's what's going on here. And you are going to see a dominant performance on the way of Torres. I think third round knockout is pretty realistic in this fight. It might be sooner. I think Kuhn might even just lay down. This guy doesn't want to win fights. You're 9. You go 1-5 in your last 6. You're getting dominated each and every fight. Granted, the guys he's fighting at least have winning records. When he stepped up in competition, the guy was clearly not ready for that level, and he is going to get mollywopped here. Torres, destruction, 3 rounds or less. I hope it's in 30 seconds, but I think realistically 3 rounds or less. The pressure will break the man we know as Kuhn here. Maybe in his prime he'd go 6 rounds. Be the man, what's his first name's escaping me. There's no value in the name. Zach Kuhn. No offense to the man if he's watching, but at the end of the day, he's not a great boxer. 10-7, not a good record, losing plenty of fights in a row here. Stepped up and got destroyed. He's going to get destroyed here. Torres is going to absolutely dominate him. Again, Mayweather staple guy versus bum. To be 100% honest, like, I'll just keep it 100. It's a bum versus a guy with some potential, and we'll see how far that potential really takes him. But I do think he dominates this overmatched opponent. Next fight, Mickey Scala versus Adam Ramirez. This is an interesting fight, a little more so at least because not, a terrible record versus an 18-0 guy. You got a kid who's 2-0 versus a kid that's 1-1. That's not bad matchmaking. On the side of Ramirez, though, he's trash. Like, he is not a good boxer. It blows my mind to see professional boxers at the low level that I wonder if they'd be competitive in street beefs. He looks really bad. Bad footwork. His feet get all tangled up. He's got 1 win by knockout, but I don't see punching power at all. He's off balance. The guy's like, the fight that I saw of him, it was hard to watch because it was terrible. He does not have a skill set that is professional level. He doesn't even have realistically past the novice amateur level skill set. Scala on the other side, rangy style. That lead hand's low, but he's quick. He moves in and out of range well. He's got that pressure that he puts on you, and he's quick with his hands too. Decent hand speed. He's going to destroy Ramirez in a not anywhere near competitive fight. 2 rounds or less, Scala gets the knockout win. It's not going to be competitive. He's going to squash Ramirez. There's no doubt in my mind about that this is serious mismatch. There's a lot of serious fucking mismatches on this card. Like, this is another one, but at least the records aren't that bad. To look at 1-1, 2-0, it's more sellable, but skill wise, it's a kid that actually can box versus someone who probably should not be. It's going to be Scala's fight. But I do respect Adam Ramirez for stepping in the ring. Anybody who does, you got to respect it, collecting those paychecks and taking some big shots along the way. He's getting knocked out. Moving up, we're already up because we lost this John Pascal fight versus Badou Jack. If there is a rebooking for Badou Jack, I will talk about that fight whenever the hell that may be, whenever they rebook it. There's nothing yet, and I said, you know what? I got to do this video, so it is what it is. We're not talking about it now, but if Badou Jack and Jean Pascal were still scheduled, I would have led maybe Jack winning the fight if they were both natural, but Pascal would have beat him roided to the gills the way he was. But let's talk about this fight. Brian Maxwell, Chad Ochocinco. Don't sleep on Ochocinco. Don't sleep. Brian Maxwell, if you guys haven't seen, he's fought in bare knuckle. I think he's 0-3 in bare knuckle, 0-1 in pro boxing. What's his MMA record? Because I got to click on this. I don't think it's good. 2-3 MMA record. The guy's just known to lose. Chad Ochocinco, superstar athlete, NFL star, supposedly been boxing throughout the entire time playing in the NFL. The thing is, probably a lot of offensive training, not a ton of sparring and like really getting your eyes prepared and fight ready, but granted, you can still build some offense, but there's definitely going to be some defensive flaws. And one that I've seen just from watching a little bit of Ochocinco, what you can find out there, he's got that slick southpaw style and that hand is very low. I worry about him not keeping the hands up because it seems that he wants to use his feints and is slipping a lot. That chin comes up a bit high. He's a southpaw, which is a thing to like here. He's super athletic, as I mentioned. I mean, the guy was an NFL star, high-level athlete. On the other side, Maxwell, southpaw with like a super wide stance, extremely hittable with straight left hands. He fought a southpaw in bare knuckle and got knocked out in his bare knuckle debut. He leaves that hand low and that head high, kind of Ochocinco does too. I don't know why, but I think Ochocinco is going to win this fight. Maxwell is not a good fighter. Yeah, he's had pro fights, but he's not good, and it's striking only. If it's MMA, I say Maxwell definitely wins this fight. It's boxing. I think Ochocinco finds a way to win. He'll want to win more than Maxwell. I don't think Maxwell's going to have the heart. I think Maxwell loses this fight. Ochocinco is no bum, and I think that he's going to go out there and get a competitive decision victory in his debut. Crazy prediction, maybe way off, and Maxwell, the actual fighter, beats him, but I don't think Maxwell is very good. I haven't been impressed at all from what I've seen, and he's susceptible to straight left hands. Southpaw versus southpaw. I'm leaning the way of Ochocinco, and I think maybe a decision win in this fight here, but Maxwell might go down after one big shot. He's getting a nice paycheck. I don't necessarily think he cares about the result all that much, being a bare-knuckle fighter and an MMA fighter. And in boxing, he's 0-1. I don't think 0-2 really is going to matter all that much. And I think Ochocinco, this means a fucking lot to. So I'm riding with Ochocinco here. The next fight is actually high-level boxing. Like, this is finally on the card of mismatches. Odds-wise, huge mismatch. What are the odds right now for this fight? Let me bring up the odds. This is our co-main event. We'll first bring up the co-main event page, of course. And let's just look at the odds. This is the co-main event right now. If Badu Jack gets a fight, he might be a co-main event. Jared Hurd is a minus 1,300 favorite to the plus 700 dog. And Luis Arias, I am kind of surprised at how widespread the odds are for this fight. Should they really be this widespread? I don't know if you guys watched Jared Hurd's last fight. It was not all that impressive. Worked off a jab, back foot heavy style. Whereas he's not normally that type of fighter. He likes to fight inside. He likes to mix it up. He likes to be in front of you and brawl in close. Granted, the Julian J. Rock Williams fight, he gets knocked out. And that definitely messed with his head. He got a new trainer. Switching to a new team and trainer doesn't always pay off early. And you can take some losses. Granted, in the last fight, he was still able to win. So I can't completely knock the guy. I am worried that being with this new trainer won't be what's best for him. He fights Luis Arias. On the other side, fought against Danny Jacobs, fought against Gabe Rosado. And his last fight, I don't even remember the name, but he was not supposed to lose, and he somehow lost to Luke Keeler. This is not a loss against Rosado. It's a mistake by Tapology. Come on, Tapology. Get your game up. We need Tapology to, like, completely dive into boxing because I was trying to use BoxRec earlier, and the whole fucking website is just not working for me. It's talking about too many redirects or some retardation. So, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like Tapology is a superior combat sports website, and I do believe eventually Tapology will take over the game. Luis Arias on the other side of Jared Hurd, to change the subject from where we break the fights down at. But inside fighter, hands close to his face, really likes to get his opponents against the ropes, tends to do really good work from there. Right hook to the body is always coming, and so is that overhand. He does have a bit of pop behind it, some sting, not an absolute KO artist, but he can hurt you. With the odds being as widespread as they are, there's more value in a dog play and Luis Arias to win against Jared Hurd, who hasn't looked great. Hurd should win. Like, prediction-wise, I'd say Hurd competitive decision maybe, but Arias plus 700 money could maybe come through and land something. I still, honestly, he could land something, but he probably won't land anything. He didn't look great in the last fight versus Luke Keeler. Jared Hurd is definitely a step up in competition, and he didn't look great in his last fight either. Both guys not looking great. Still, Jared Hurd is going to find a way to grind out a decision, I would assume. beats Luis Arias here, who's never been finished. I am riding with Jarrett Hurd. He might even land a knockdown. Hopefully he's a bit more active, and I hope the fight's more entertaining than his last fight. I really do hope so. I'm praying so. All right, we are at the main event. Make sure if you guys have not yet, smash that like button. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, whether on live or on replay. Smash the likes. Let's see what's going on in the live chat. Let me check up on that real quick. Hey, appreciate you guys for all tuning in. No witchcraft to increase the bet likelihood, man. I'll stick with the mere mortal betting, man. I'll do it on the good graces. You're a big fan of Sherdogs? I mean, I like Tapology because it tells you about canceled fights. It tells you about the fights in advance. I feel like more simply. I don't know. I have a bias towards Tapology, but Sherdog is fine. It's not a bad site. They're both fine. But I do think I personally prefer Tapology. I used to use Sherdog when I was younger, but now I am a Tapology man. All right, it's main event time. Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Logan Paul. What the fuck? This is a crazy fight. Really, this is a wild fight. It is a interesting matchup. You know, stylistically, it's an odd fight because you have Logan Paul, a jacked YouTube star. Looks a little suspect for enhancement usage, in my opinion, but that's just my take. On the other side, Floyd Mayweather, the greatest boxer we've seen in like the last 100 years. The man doesn't get hit. Logan Paul can't box. Like, sure, he can throw hands a little bit at a low level, and yeah, boxing on a scale of amateur, yeah, he can probably go win a couple amateur fights, and maybe even win in the open class of amateur. But he's a novice level boxer, and he has one fight against KSI who sucks, and he lost. Like, I got to keep it 100 with boxing. With MMA, you guys know I'm a little more light on the guys, whatever, because MMA, when you're in the UFC, you've already made it to a certain point. Logan Paul has not worked his way towards it. He talks about wanting to do an MMA fight, this, and that. That's fine. I don't care. Don't put him against the best MMA fighter of all time, because then, you know, he'll probably die. But against Mayweather, he can maybe live a bit here. Mayweather's defense is excellent. He doesn't get hit. Logan Paul has no hand speed. He keeps his hands super low, and he is jacked, which, sure, it looks great. He's probably going to get tired. 8 rounds. Mayweather, super small, super disadvantaged as far as the height goes. No reach there for Logan Paul. Shit, I really wish Logan Paul had a reach. Let me find a Logan Paul reach because I want to tell the difference. Let's see if they have it. 76 inches. Only a 4-inch reach difference. Floyd Mayweather can get inside. Floyd Mayweather is not going to get hurt. Logan Paul doesn't punch as hard as Manny Pacquiao. I don't care how big he is or how much he can lift because he looks like this menacing force. He cannot fight. He can, you know what? Take that back. Fight, he can wrestle. So in MMA, hey, maybe he would beat some lower level guys. This is boxing, and boxing is a different game. The sweet science for a reason. You put MMA guys in boxing. Jake Paul's different than his brother. Logan Paul is not nearly as skilled as Jake. I think Jake Paul would stop Logan Paul if they fought probably, inside of 6 rounds. I think he would knock out Jake Paul. He would knock out Logan Paul. Logan Paul is no boxer. He's an athletic kid with a good wrestling background, good as far as the high school scene. He works hard, for sure. He's training. He's got a name. He's making a ton of money. But he has no chance against Floyd Mayweather. I'm not going to be that guy that says it's going to be 1 round. It's an exhibition. This is a fake fight. This isn't real. This is not real. I don't care. If they actually go hard and really go at it, yeah, it's possible, but I think Floyd carries him. I think Floyd carried Conor McGregor in that fight, and Conor McGregor is a lethal striker. Logan Paul is a strong kid that boxes a bit. He's a novice, though. He's a novice. I don't care what you say. He's a novice. Sure, he's bigger. He's probably got way higher testosterone at 26 and looking a little bit suspect for some sauce. I think Floyd Mayweather stops him still. It's 8 rounds. I think Floyd carries him at least 5. I think Logan starts getting tired around 6 and starts quitting on himself in the 6th because I think he'll quit on himself. And I think Floyd Mayweather maybe TKOs him in the 7th, just lightly popping shots together. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and Floyd actually goes out there and just rips Logan Paul's head off in 40 seconds. But I think more likely he'll go a little later. You know what? As I'm talking, I'm feeling like 7 might be too many rounds. I'll say 5. 5. I'll give Logan 5. And that's because Floyd's going to carry him. If Floyd was really going down at him, I would say it could be 3, it could be 2, it could be 1. Watch out for the body shots. Floyd Mayweather back in the day would rip to the body. And if Logan Paul gets touched by one of those nasty body shots, there's no way he's standing up to it. This is not a competitive fight at all. It's not going to be competitive whatsoever. And we are going to see a dominant performance. Go look at that fight with the Japanese fighter. The thing with that Japanese fight, that was completely fixed. I think Logan Paul is actually coming, like, thinking he has a chance to win the fight, whereas the side of Floyd, he's planning to carry. That fight was fake, man. That Japanese dude wouldn't have got knocked out quick like that. On what betting sites open the odds? Well, let's just pull up the odds right now because I'm ranting on with this fight right here. I just got to let my opinion out there because at the end of the day, it's a shit show, but I am excited for it. Fight doesn't go the distance, minus 300. Fight goes this plus 200. The only thing maybe to bet is that plus 1,000 fight a draw. Is that somehow going to cash? Should they somehow call it a draw? I don't know. I don't know, man. This fight is like, I'm talking about it because it is a trending subject. In my opinion, I want to get it out there. But it's a fake fight. It's not a real fight. Like, it's bullshit. To be 100% real. And Floyd Mayweather minus 1,200, sure. I would not throw my money at it. I will be talking about the event and doing a live stream during it. Just, I will enjoy this fight as a spectacle, not as a boxing match, as a real fight. This is not real fighting. This is a spectacle event of celebrities cashing in, getting richer off this, as Floyd Mayweather called bank robbery. And it is a bank robbery, really, because a lot of people will pay to see it for some odd reason. The Logan Paul fans, the Floyd Mayweather fans, still feel like Jake Paul's a way bigger draw than Logan. If you did Jake Paul, Floyd Mayweather, the interest is a lot more real. But Logan Paul, popular kid, big following online. Floyd Mayweather beats him. He should beat him handily. It shouldn't be close. It's comical seeing them fight one another. I think it's cringy, honestly. But Floyd Mayweather's a man about money. He don't really give a fuck what anybody thinks about him. And I feel like I do have to respect that. And Logan Paul has some courage for stepping in. But does he really? Because if they offered me $20 million, I would go fight Floyd Mayweather on the street. I fight him bare knuckle. I'll take that fight bare knuckle. Let's see if those hands hold up. I got a better shot. Maybe I'll take one to the head and see if I can break Floyd's hand and shock the world. Bare knuckle, I'm taking Floyd out. But realistically, it's boxing. There's no chance for Logan Paul. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Exhibition fights scare you? They should, because they could definitely, the odds be bullshit and they call it a draw. Like that Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones fight. You guys remember that was an exhibition. That was a draw. That was not a draw. And it was hard for me to deal with that draw call when you couldn't bet a draw. When I went to bet a draw, it didn't let me bet a draw. There was no option to bet a draw. So that's BS. It would be hilarious. If Logan somehow finds a way to win this fight, I will clap it up for him. I mean, God bless him. I'd be happy for the kid. He's a funny guy. He's got a big following. But as far as does it do anything for boxing? No. You put him in there against any guy at his weight class, he's stopped in probably 2 rounds or less and is not going to be competitive at all. I think anybody would fight Floyd for the money that they'll be throwing at you. Like, if you're throwing at us, let's say, $20 million, I think anybody takes the fight against Floyd. So I don't really say, oh, the courage on Logan Paul for fighting the best ever. Nah, it's a fight that's going to be okay, I guess. I don't know. It's so weird. Like, I don't even really think of this as a real fight. Like, I'm more excited because I want to see if Hurd is going to have anything against Luis Arias, because Hurd is kind of looking like he's not that top champion that a lot of people thought he was, and he didn't look great in that recent fight. I'm excited to see Vidal. Riley might be my most exciting matchup on the card because I want to see how this prospect does. These early fights are just all mismatches. Like, this card is complete mismatches. The only competitive fight on the card was the Badu Jack fight. The odds were fairly close here. Interesting how widespread they were in favor of Jack. But that fight's gone. That fight's finished with. That fight's off. So now we have a card of extreme mismatches. Floyd Mayweather, great boxer. Logan Paul, YouTube sensation. Hurd, former champion. Logan Paul. Luis Arias, soft contender. Brian Maxwell, terrible bare knuckle fighter. Chad Ochocinco Johnson. What the hell is this card? The more I look into this card, it just blows my mind to see. Like it's literally like shocking that this is the matchup. I don't know. This is crazy in my opinion that these are all the matchups. Guys, if you haven't yet, smash that like button. Make sure you do so. Really helps out the video, helps out the channel, gets that algorithm pumping, and gets the video out to more and more people here. We'll be sticking around for a bit longer and chatting it up in that live chat. And I do want to talk a little bit more about the Woodley fight because I feel like Tyron Woodley, at the end of the day, out of all of the Paul saga, Tyron Woodley is getting a big opportunity because two things can happen. He might lose to Jake Paul, or he might beat his ass and get that revenge for his boy Ben Askren that he wanted. So, I mean, realistically, not a bad option either way. It's lose and get probably about $5 million. Like, I don't think that he's taking less than $3 million for the fight. I would hope that he's getting at least $5 million. I think it's realistic to say that there might be $5 million for Tyron Woodley in that fight against Jake Paul. And it's going to be on Showtime. At least that's a more legit fight. Like, I actually have no real issues with the Jake Paul thing. He's fighting MMA guys. I hate the fact that his brother, who lost to KSI, like KSI is a terrible boxer. He lost to KSI, and he's fighting against the best boxer ever. Like, I would rather see somebody else get that chance. Like, I'd rather see Jake Paul get the chance. At least he's dove fully into the sport, has won some fights. Like, he's won fights. At the end of the day, if you win fights, I'm going to give you credit on that. He's beaten dudes up. Now, granted, he beat Ben Askren, no hands Askren. Like, I think Ben Askren probably loses a fist fight against a middle school boxer that's in like 8th grade. And then he also beat Nate Robinson. I think Nate Robinson might beat Ben Askren in a boxing match, to be honest. So maybe that wins better. And then he beat Addison Gibb, who's terrible, who can't fight. And he fought KSI's brother, Deji. I think Deji, out of all the fighters on the resume of Jake Paul, maybe Deji's the best. You don't think Woodley's going to train? You think Woodley's going to go out there and just... I think Woodley's going to really want this win, though. I think he wants to knock out Paul. But there's a difference between wanting the win and really being willing to die for victory. I think that Woodley wants to win, and he's going to let the hands fly. But he's getting knocked out. Like, I'm on Paul. Paul is going to beat Tyron Woodley. Trust me. He's going to knock him out. And it's going to be embarrassing to see. Woodley's going to lay down. Woodley plus 125. You think he get paid to get a dive? Dude, I don't even think they need to pay him to get a dive. Like, I think Woodley is going to get tired around the 4th or 5th round, and I think Jake Paul is going to beat him. Like, it's going to be sad to watch, guys. I know a lot of you guys, probably OG fans like me, we love T Wood. T Wood's been around forever. T Wood is an OG, and he's a guy that when he was at his best, people talked about being one of the best fighters ever in that welterweight division. And I'm talking about him getting knocked out by Jake Paul in the next couple months. It blows my mind to see what's going on with that fight. Blows my mind, 100%. Woodley does get a chance to redeem his boy, too. Yeah, Jake Paul really is fighting Woodley, man. He legitimately is fighting Tyron Woodley, former UFC champion versus YouTube sensation. Jake Paul winning this fight, though, can you imagine the man, how this is going to go to his head? I mean, it's going straight to his head after he fights against T Wood. I think he probably does go out there and put on a decent boxing display. I do think T Wood has a chance to hit him. Like, I don't think T Wood is going to look as bad as Ben Askren does. Like, Ben Askren is so bad. Boxing fundamentals will beat a good overhand. And I mean, does Jake Paul not have a pretty good right hand himself? His overhand's not terrible. Hopefully not a controversial stoppage, man. Yeah, I'm picking Jake all day. It's Jake Paul. He's going to beat Tyron Woodley. And we are all going, as MMA fans, the MMA community, I'm curious where they're going to jump. I think that they're going to probably say, let's go T Wood. There's going to be huge support for T Wood, but man, it's going to be disappointing when we see T Wood catch an L. Because I don't think T Wood's beating Jake Paul, man. I just don't. I don't think T Wood at 40 years old is going to have the reflexes. Boxing is an extremely different game than MMA. Like, you could get the best strikers in MMA, put them in a ring, and they look kind of trash. Like Anderson Silva, I don't know if you guys watch footage. He's training for the fight against Chavez Jr. I'm watching this guy hit the bag. He looks like an amateur boxer, and he has pro fights in boxing, but he doesn't look good. So, like, it just worries me more. Woodley definitely not as technically sound as Anderson Silva. Woodley is going to get hurt in there. He's going to get beat up. It's going to be really embarrassing. Really embarrassing. What a week if Askren, dude, Askren, at the end of the day, a loss for Funky Ben against Jake Paul means less than a loss for T Wood, because T Wood was actually regarded as a pretty good striker in MMA. So that's why I feel like this loss on the side of Woodley is going to be kind of bad for his stock and his morale, and he's going to lose. Like, I don't see it going another way. I see him losing. It still blows my mind that there's this fight in this main event this weekend. Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. Like, in their right mind, I'm just like, how did they even come to that? I don't know. It blows my mind, guys. The land of opportunity. Welcome to America, because it's insane. This would not happen. Like, it doesn't make any sense. 2 years ago, if you would have told me this was the fight, I would have said no. Probably 6 months ago, or maybe 8 months ago, because I don't even remember when they announced this fight. I remember hearing about the rumblings of it, and I'm like, why would he fight Logan Paul? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Logan Paul, 0-1, lost to KSI. He is getting a chance to fight against Floyd Mayweather. Bragging rights, sell it how you want to sell it. This is a freak show carnival fight, and it probably should not be happening on Showtime pay-per-view, and people are going to cash out a lot of money for this, which is insane, in my opinion. Absolutely insane. You think Woodley beats Jake Paul? I don't know, my guy. Yeah, no, don't think Jake is a god. If you put Jake in there versus a guy at his weight class in boxing, because he fights what? How big is Jake? Jake is probably around 190, right? Walks around, I think, at 200. So he's a cruiserweight boxer. You put him in there against any cruiserweight with any decent skill, he's going to get destroyed. He's going to get completely outclassed, and it's not going to be close. But I think that Woodley doesn't have the technical boxing skill set. He's going to go too crazy. Jake is, I think, 5 inches taller, and he is definitely longer with his arms. I believe so. I don't know about reach, but I think arm length advantage. Woodley, yeah, Woodley knows a little bit about boxing, but when you do MMA for years, it is hard to change the stance. Go look at the Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier fight. You look, he's been doing so much boxing. It's a different sport. And I think that, like, you see godlike strikers in MMA, and then they go to boxing, they'll look like trash. You see godlike strikers in boxing, even if they're just striking with the MMA gloves, it's a different game. Like, you look at bare knuckle. If you look at BKFC, this is a good example. I can't remember the name, but there was a pro boxer that went out there and fought, and he lost his fight. He lost to a bare knuckle guy that's not that great. That's all right. I think it was Reggie Barnett versus somebody. The straight boxer wasn't able to do. I don't know what's going on with my camera, guys. I don't know why we're getting this weird ass lighting effect here on my end. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. I apologize. Woodley KO Lawler. You can't lose power. No, he still has power, but it's MMA. MMA is a different game. He threw one huge overhand. It's not going to work in boxing. Think about this. In MMA, when you throw that overhand, your opponent is not just worried about overhands. He's worried about the legs getting grabbed, being clinched up, being kicked, being everything, every other possible option that MMA brings you with the fights. Whereas boxing, they're fearful of one thing, getting punched in the face. I think you're going to see Jake Paul snap that jab out on the chin of Woodley. I think Woodley will rush in and unload. He might even hurt Paul and hit Paul. Paul's going to block it. He's going to probably circle out. He'll look to box intelligently. He'll slowly start picking apart Woodley. You'll go back to the fight with Woodley and Nate Marquardt. Woodley was tired, and when he got slept in that fight, I'm fearful that we're going to see a knockout as bad as that. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen in that fight. It's not going to be good. Artem Lobov versus Paulie Malignaggi. If they fight in straight boxing, it's going to be Paulie's fight. But when you get into the small gloves, when you get into the no gloves, granted, in that matchup, it's a different game. And it's the same thing with the other way that it comes over, man. It's just, it's a different game. And I think that most MMA fighters will cross over to boxing and lose for sure, even against a mid-level guy, like a club fighter. Woodley also could gas out just throwing haymakers like a clown. He might go crazy. He might go crazy. He definitely could. Artem beat Paulie. Yeah, that was insane. Yeah, Woodley. All right, so this is another. All right, let's do this. Woodley, 8 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Okay, that's a different game. That's different because Woodley can learn more. You're not learning new tricks at 39. He's not gonna have a ton of time to prepare. He's gonna need to get the stance angled. He stands square from MMA. It's just MMA. You're supposed to stand more square. You're avoiding takedowns and whatnot. It's gonna be super hard to close that gap. What separates an amateur boxer and a pro boxer? It's just the years of experience and then obviously the skill set. And it does come down to style. Amateur style is slightly different. You're going to see a lot more just flurry volume punches in amateur boxing. Gloves are different. Headgear's a factor. And then you look at the professional style, slower pace. I mean, granted, you still have combo punchers, but one big shot makes a big difference here. Frank Mir? Yeah, but I think Frank Mir, technically speaking, different game. Frank Mir is okay. Also, Frank Mir was bigger. Let's do this. Michael Bisping comes and fights Jake Paul. We're talking about a different fight. That's a different matchup. We're not only talking about an MMA fighter that's fighting Jake Paul. We're talking about an MMA fighter that's smaller than Jake Paul, has been hit on the chin a fair amount recently. You know why Woodley wants to do it? He's going to make a lot of money. He's going to make a serious amount of dough. It's genius for Woodley to do this. I'd take the fight for that. That dude, he's making millions of dollars for this. Yeah, Woodley has been 5 rounds a good amount. He hasn't been finished against some of the top guys. You are right. He got finished, though, against Colby, but that was an injury. And then he got knocked out, or he got knocked down and beaten by Vicente Luque. Very different style. Frank Mir, though, is just a special case. Heavyweight boxing is also really different. He was so much bigger than Steve Cunningham, and I'll be honest, Steve Cunningham never really dished out a ton of volume. They fought intelligently. He did what he had to do to win. I think that we're going to see Woodley. I mean, I think in the first 3 rounds, Woodley could land a big punch. I'm not saying Woodley has 0 chance of a knockout. Sure, he has a knockout chance. But as far as a technical boxing match, gotta go with the way of Jake Paul finding the chin. Woodley's chin? I don't think Woodley's chin is glass by any means. I don't think it's glass. I just think it's different. The volume. You're going to see Woodley start to fatigue a bit. The arms get tired. Man, boxing's a different game, and there's going to be a noticeable difference with that. And I'm super excited. Though. No, it's all good. At the end of the day, Tyron Woodley, for the sake of humanity, knock out Jake Paul, please. But realistically, Jake Paul is the superior boxer, and he's going to beat him. It's just what's unfortunately going to have to happen. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. If you're watching live, I appreciate everybody for participating in the live chat. Always love chatting it up with you guys. If you're watching on replay, love you guys too. Smash that like button. Let's get it all pumping. We talked some interesting stuff, and how crazy is it? The Paul brothers have found themselves as one of the most important names in combat sports this week somehow. We're doing a video literally talking about Mayweather versus Paul. We're talking about the whole card, and at the top, we're talking Jake Paul. Oh, man, it's insane. Number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC right now, Kamaru Usman. I have to throw the way of Usman. I have to give it to him. High-level competition, consistent quality performances, and looking better and better each time, and no drug test failures. And that right there is definitely a substantial factor. Appreciate everybody. Thank you all so much. That's it for me today. I will see you guys all in the next video. We'll be going over the UFC best bets tomorrow, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much, and see you guys very soon.